you gotta shoot. I left it with a lady. I said, hey, would you hold this package for me? Zoop. I headed for Colombia, like the white boys had told me. And I went to Colombia, and things got started. But that was my first comeback. That's what the talk is tonight. It's about coming back. It's about continuity, keeping up. It's about 95% of ability and stickability. It's like when you choose what you're doing, as some of the people say, when you choose what you're doing, what you're going to do, if life chooses you, then that's going to be hard. Whatever you do, it'll be hard for you. Right? But when you choose what you're doing, or if you do what's hard, life is easy. If you do what's easy, life is hard. And I meant that to say right now, we'll get into all the talks and stuff that we wanted to talk about things we talked about the other night. But see, we're in a certain stage right now. This is the time of the comeback. This is the time, you can tell, when they talk, all the stars is lining up. When you can't talk one day without it happening the next day, it's too consistent, it's too close. It don't make no difference how it's happening. It don't make no difference whether they listen and they say, we'll fool them by doing this and that. It don't make no difference. Those things are lining up. And then we have a chance. At first we wanted to wait, because we already wrote down, we got to sleep under a bridge. So psychologically, we might have been trying to urge it back to, like they're doing stuff to you, and you saying, that ain't nothing. We're going to get back to where we want to make a real comeback. We want to be flat to zero. It's not arrogance. It's just like once you've made once you've made 2 or 3 comebacks, they part of your life then. Actually, once you've made 1, unless you, anyway, it's part of your life. So anyway, those things about habits, it's very true. If you do the things that are easy, life is hard. But if you do the things that are hard and difficult, life is easy. That's why everybody look at what goes on here, and they probably saying, man, I wouldn't want that to be happening in my life. I would never want to be surrounded by the whole government. Because see, even the richest white man or the most experienced athlete, they don't have everything against them, right? They got a life. It moves out of your way if you keep moving forward. Finally, it'll open up. But what about when you have a specific team for decades that their job is to make you do what they want you to do, or to hold you up from going the way you want to go, right? And you know that, and everybody else do too. And everybody else would be looking at it like, man, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. That's terrible. But if you grew up, if you've been trained to do the things that's hard, right? Then that's easy. It don't seem like it should be like that. That's the way it is. That the training in life may be harder than life itself. Like we talked about the SEALs and all that. That training is so difficult, you ain't never gonna have to swing on a rope 1,000 feet high with one thing, right? That's how they train you. Right. You gotta stay under the water for 3 minutes. Stay under the water for 3 minutes? The record ain't nothing but 4 minutes or something. How am I gonna do that, right? But they train you to do that. Then you go on a mission. Oh, that mission was easy. We just swung on a rope or two. You know, jumped and snatched the man, put him in a bag, and took him off. Right?
Because a lot of that is psychological.
It's psychological. It's like in South Africa, they had one of those motivational things, and the friends of mine over there, they do that all the time. They was having a retreat where people would walk across hot coals, you know, barefooted. And so one of the people who was having it, and myself, everybody else walked across the coals. I said, I'm not going to walk across no coals. I don't have to fix myself up psychologically, because if you can walk across hot coals, you can do anything. That's what they're training them to do. I said, shoot, if those people walk across some coals, put up with what we put up with, boy, they'd be hollering and crying, right, and spinning around. So this thing about, in the beginning, you make habits. In the end, habits make you. For some people, comebacks are part of their life. Also, taking it easy for a while. When I mentioned 67, it was a nice little cruising period. In 68 come in, we're ready to roll. Okay. And we pull it back naturally, not because anybody making us do it, right? So right now, this little cruising period falls in naturally. But after that cruising and taking it easy period, which technically we're not cruising and taking it easy. Technically, we're doing our regular training, regular this and regular that, and we're expanding in our own way. There comes a time, though, when it's all visible. It's all visible. And it looks like, you know, a long-range swimmer have to know how to tread water. Well, you're not drowning, right? And you ain't going nowhere, you just tread water. To get your bearing, to get your, you know what I mean? Even to take a rest, all you're doing is just treading water. And sometime in life, people go through that, treading water. And also, certain habits. I don't know, I remember, I might have told y'all about, maybe it was around 1970. It was down at the California Hotel, and I had one of my partners with me, and I had Willie Ward had another one of his friends, Ollie King or somebody. They were sitting in the back seat. And talking about rich, that was the super rich period. And when Negroes get super rich all of a sudden, sometimes all their bookkeeping and their discipline, they start partying. Not some, I would say almost all, even guys in sports.
Yep.
They start chasing so many girls, their game get off, you know what I mean? And they start eating and their faces all puffed up and everything, right? They can catch that, they go to Hollywood. They make a few movies, they get big, all of a sudden they partying all night, they're starting all the coke. Almost everybody, all the old timers, Red Fox, Richard Pryor and them, all our people, man, from those days, all of them, every last one of them. The girls, the cocaine and all of that. Well, I used to run the hills every day, lifting iron, and I still did it. But at that time, we was snorting a lot of blow, you know. So I turned around and I said to my partner, I looked to the side, I said, you got another one of them things? We blew up, I don't know how much it was. So you got another one of them things? So Willie Ward said, you keep that up, you won't be captain of the ship. I act like I didn't pay no attention. The next morning, I was in the hills. I went and locked up all the blow, And I used to come by the Negroes, the chief Negroes' houses, and they wouldn't come out, to take them to run and lift iron, and they wouldn't come out of the house. They played, because they just got home. I'd feel the car, and the engine was hot, and in those days, some big old Brohams, they had an air lift, and it goes psst, psst, and it lifted up the car. Because the car is so big, it was air ride. It would lift the car up a little bit and level it, load level is what they call it. So when you turn the engine off, for an hour, it's just going, psst, psst, and that's what I knew they was in the house. Come on out of there. They wouldn't go. But I locked up all the blow, and when I come to the nightclub, I'd have one of the black tight t-shirts on, lifting iron, and running them heels from habit. I knew he was right. And it didn't take, now, the dumb people would say, I don't need to slow down and get back on business. But I looked at the business. The business was big, but it was getting loose. And in another 2-3 months, it would be super loose, and we'd be broke because we'd be spending money on everything, right? Anyway, so that was in 1970. That was because of habits. In the beginning, you make habits. In the end, habits make you. Because you have a reservoir of good habits, right? And that reservoir of good habits make it where you don't have a habit of lying to yourself. Oh, you'll be all right. Just do it a few more days, and then a few more days, a few more months, and then you broke and in the cemetery. That comes from good habits. In the beginning, you make habits, and in the end, habits make you. We're going through a period now, and it's always, when I look at all these notes, they're all the same. They could be 40 years ago, early rise. Well, early rise now means 6, So the last 5 out of 7 days, I've been down here for Fajr. And am I reading somewhere? Oh yeah, there's a hadith back there, and under that there's a mixture of Quran and hadith. So that means early rise in this life we live in right now. Man, I was getting up making Fajr 9 o'clock or something. Late, because you can't go to bed and take notes and watch TV and all that until 5 o'clock and get up at 6 o'clock. You just can't do it, right? So this life, I was living this type of life my kids lived, because nobody got to go to school. They're doing all their work at home. So they can do whatever they want. They can do that. But early rise. So right now, I know it's comeback time. I know it's comeback time because I know what I've been doing for the last week or so. I know how I felt just making salat right there. You know what I mean? And I knew how many times I go out to the little house and lift iron. How many times I do push-ups. How many times I'm going over and run. Everything, right, is falling into place because of the reservoir of good habits. And even, we talk about it sometime, even the best trained people don't have to be at the highest point all the time. Sometimes it's good just to let yourself drift a little bit, and then you get back in shape. You know what I mean? And a good army is like that. The guys are not super trained all the time, and running 100 miles all the time, right? So it's the same thing with life. If you do what's easy, life is hard. But if you do what's hard, life is easy. Everything, all the stuff that happened and had been happening here and in Oakland and everywhere is unbelievable. I don't see nobody else being able to go through that type of thing. But we're doing it, and we're doing it easy. It ain't, I'm telling you, it's almost a joke. It's almost a joke. And then at a certain level, example, I've been also paying a lot of attention to Islamic lectures, and I even listened to our dear New York brother, 2 of them. Today and one yesterday. And it's at some of these big conferences. And then when you see the way they're doing those conferences now, of course we've been doing it all the time, but they got a whole new group of people, brothers and sisters, and they're all relatively good speakers. Those people are not, the whole thing used to hinge on them. The whole thing used to hinge on them. They were the highlight of everything. And when they came up to speak, everybody just, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and they just had the place jumping. You could hear the crowd and you could hear them. That ain't happening no more. But at the same time, certain things happened like that to us, but it was different with us. Let's say with the crowd that we were conferencing and world traveling with, all the time we was involved in that, we was doing it for a certain reason. We were growing and developing, and we always maintained our own independence, no matter what they had in mind. So if they changed their mind, it didn't have no effect on us. Even today, it has no effect on us. Our friends from overseas, they came right here 2-3 months ago, that everything we was telling them, we did things on video, we told them, no, this is what's happening in America. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted something else to be happening. They wanted something else to be, and they sent someone, from Tehran over here. They sent them right over here to be with me, to talk to me about it, and it's a friend to try to, well, you sure it's not this? I said, ain't that? I said, boss man, look at here. And then they talk in that language, but I saw in their faces. I said, you saw a mirage. You saw movement and stuff from them. I said, we was out there. We tried to talk to them. We went there specifically. Did they want direction? Did they want guidance? Did they want leadership? They didn't want it. They were already out there, and they already got their mission. To be out there, to walk around, right? And then to go home. And then right after that, for the system to take over everything, and then they blame them for being out there, just not wanting to get shot, right? They saying, why? You're burning down the buildings. Well, it's not us burning down the buildings, it's their homeboys burning down the building, right? And I don't know why our mayors and stuff are so slow. You never hear them say, hey, y'all burning down the buildings. Let's burn it down the buildings. Our people are praying for you. Our people are saying, you haven't heard not one family, right? From amongst the oppressed, their children are shot. Some of them are dead right now, right? And they're praying for everybody, and every time you hear them talk, they say, we don't want any violence. You don't want no violence. And they shooting us down like that, and they won't stop. They won't like, well, we take a break. We just shot 17 niggas lately. So have a moratorium on shooting niggas. They don't have no more, they don't have nothing. And then they blame you for what they people do. They come and they run around and they burn down stuff. And it ain't us. It's they people doing it. Why aren't you against that? And that old white man ought to tell him, man, we don't have nothing to do with that. That's your folks. Antifa was here during Obama's time. They've been here doing the same thing, burning stuff, running around on motorbikes. That ain't our people. What are you talking about? Right? All of they people, the Boogaloo Boys, what's the name of them other people? Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. Y'all heard the Boogaloo? Yeah, Boogaloo. I don't know why they chose the man, Boogaloo. Boogaloo on Broadway, whatever they do.
I did look them up, so I do know where the name came from. But you know, the leader is like a 19-year-old dude, 19-year-old white man.
It's so okay. We can see that, but how many white folks in America do you think can look at that? How many of them look at the thing that happened the other night and can assess it and put it in the right framework? How many people in ICNA and ISNA and all them people look at that stuff and put it in the proper framework? How many of the Negro leaders is as old as me? They ought to know better. They ought to know something. They're not even, I mean, you got to listen to it. The lectures they give are beautiful on Islam. They are nice. But they're talking like there's nothing happening. There's no movement, there's no, you know what I mean? You know, it's just, mashallah, you know, and all. That's the way that, ain't nobody saying nothing. Okay, that's fine. You know, that's why, for them, if they did what we're doing, it would be hard for them. It would be hard for them. But it's easy for us. And that's why today's talk is a comeback. We used to have the old flyer a setback ain't nothing but a setup. That's Willie Jolly, the guy here from D.C. He's a little motivator, he said that. A setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. Okay. Let's just visit the other night. Now the other